Really successful. We had 40 people. We raised.
Yes, and it's his daughter, Barrett's daughter.
Just being.
You know, and his wife.
And I feel now and then I need to do some.
It looks like it's done, but they still have a number of terms. You know, they want to limit the share of 50% of their profit.
Yeah, roll it.
Do a whoosh for Taryn to welcome her to the neighborhood.
Here or outside?
Outside over here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit fun.
Mari Mari. For a little bit. And just think about, you know, how awesome it is to be living in this neighborhood.
Why should I know her? Making the sound whoosh.
Okay? Ready?
1, 2, whoosh. One more. One more.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so basically today we're gonna have, you know, a bit of presentations, have some breaks, have some snacks. We're gonna have selfies up at any time to the snacks and the wonderful bread and jam that Richard brought, and see some brownies hiding in a container there. Who brought the brownies? We're gonna be filming the gathering and posting it online, so the members that are out of town that couldn't be here can have access to that, because rather than taking like the long minutes, they can actually see it live, well not live, but a recorded session. And Emmy's going to take some like brief like key decisions or action points kind of minute style.
The outer perimeter of the neighborhood over there. Petra, big family. It's like 12 of us, I think. So, yeah, we'll be the circus in town.
Yeah, it's Emmy and I.
Underground one, I heard.
Yeah, we do want to make it underground. Sound big. Especially since Ajay wants to build an open air structure next door. Yeah, Emmy and I are designing our
They'll only
blog.
play Bollywood music.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I'm the meat in the sandwich between Mel's and Amy's place at Soma,
So you're plot 9.
plot number 9.
I'm with Maya on plot 3, which is next to between Rod and the swimming pool.
My name is Ajay, and in Akshay and I, we have plot number 13 right next to Mel's. So that's about it. We've gone through a few design iterations. Now we are changing once more. I was telling her this morning. So.
And I've got plot number 2. So I'm going to be hanging out in Petra's warung a lot and knocking on Richard's door for soap and jam often, and hopefully going to have a bat cave.
Bat? I'm number 7, and which keeps changing. I guess I'm not number 7. I was number 9 a few weeks ago, but I'm number 7 at this point. And I'm between Sandy and the swimming pool and the sports field. Okay, so, you know, some kind of key updates in terms of the membership and the structure of the neighborhood is we have some new Toronto members, which is so awesome. And there's Agusari, who unfortunately couldn't make it today, but he's really cool, and Emmy and I, and also Longena, who's going to be here. You all, I mean, previous members saw his Better Than 10 as well. He's flying in from Jakarta now, so he'll be here soon.
What's his name?
Longena. Yeah. And there's also Masawal is coming today from Plot 4, which is so awesome.
Hobby's husband.
It's been hard for him to make it here up until now. And Megan will be coming a bit later, around lunchtime. So unfortunately, Rick couldn't make it. He asked us to send his deep regrets that he couldn't make it this time. And he also gave us some notes, which we've kind of integrated into the stuff that we're doing at the moment. We've been having regular gatherings on Wednesdays at site. So Soma often comes, Richard and Maya come sometimes, Sandy comes. Those that are in Bali, Rick comes regularly. It's been really great. So something like in that picture over there, we just have a chance to like sit down and catch up on critical, immediate issues, and also have a look at what's going on site, all that stuff. So that's been good. The major updates to the master plan is that, as someone mentioned, the numbering has changed. That followed. The biggest thing that's happened recently, in a sense, is that BPM came out and the final coupling on process for phase 2 area in terms of checking everything and like getting the produce the certificates. So that had quite a ripple effect in terms of boundaries of plots, positioning of plots. Like you may notice that there used to be one more plot along the river. It's no longer there. So it's kind of shifted up into this area. And the size of plots and the borders of plots have changed a fair bit on phase 2. So if you haven't already been to site, you haven't already seen, if you're part of phase 2, and you haven't already seen where your packtalk are, today is a good day to do that. Generally speaking, not generally speaking, pretty much across the board, it's good news for everybody. The plots feel bigger, more spacious.
Did we get an actual measurement drawing of that at some point?
Okay, so what's going on with that, I was going to talk about that in a second, is, I mean, BPM, I'll talk about it in the next slide. And as someone just pointed out, 10 and 12 could be combined into one, possibly. So the certificates for phase 1 are completely done. They're posted on the website, technically delivered to their owners. Certificates for phase 2 within the month. We should have them in hand. Took a little bit longer just because we had to do the Papayan twice for phase 2 because there's a new regulation that says you can't split any given certificate into more than 5 plots at one time. It's a new regulation. So in other words, you have to split it once and then reapply to split it again, basically. But yeah, it's going quite well, and I'm happy with that process. This shows some of those changes we were talking about earlier. So the red lines were the previous. Okay, there's actually 3 sets of survey here. Okay, 4 actually. The blue lines were the first topographical survey that we did, almost 3 years ago now. The black lines were the resurveying that we did in terms of defining the plot borders about a year and a half ago. The red lines were the definition of the master plan in terms of where the pathways were to sit, which of course impacts the different plots. And then the blue lines are the final BPN overlay of what BPN thinks after they come out like 3 times and did the surveying and so on and so forth. So the legal boundaries are these blue lines at this point. And the numbering, I mean the size of each plot is now, what is it? Legalized. So what's written in those, which you can't see here, sorry, but it's what we've been sharing with everyone in terms of sizes of all the plots. These are the legal sizes that would be actually written on your certificates. So that's technically your plot size. Meanwhile, and later when we go to site, I mean, have a look. There's, I know, there's a million pegs all over the place because of this process, but there's some new pegs which are unique, and they're they're cement, they're beton, square, they're about this big, and they're kind of long and round, and they have Bepe and written on them. Those are the legal Bepean pot borders at this point. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Indonesia and working with Bepean and stuff like that, these guys, amazingly enough, are not very good surveyors. So even though they're the guys who define, the law about boundaries and so on, their maps suck. They're not according to what's on the ground, and sometimes their actual measuring is off as well. And we had the process as we went through, from the beginning until now with this, where we thought we had bought this many ara, and then the pen came out like, nope, it's only this much, or it's more. Like, okay, so that happens. It's regular. So since we do need to re-survey the topography of the site at this point, particularly for the utility supply line installation, because for the utility supplies have to be installed at certain gradients for them to work properly, so we have to get our leveling pat and for sure before we start laying those pipelines and so on and so forth. So we are going to re-survey the topography of the site. And at the same time, we're going to have the professional surveyor by you also check your plot sizes based on those Bepean epochs. If we find that there is variance or error, what can happen is where it affects. Okay, there's two different things. One is where your land borders another non-PPN owner. We prefer not to do anything with those pop-ups at this point. That's quite involved, going out and neighbors and so on. So, we're quite confident that these were done well. So, we would like to really lock in any patok that is along the outer perimeter of the neighborhood at this point. And, but the ones that are on the inner perimeter, if we do find that there's some kind of variance between what Bepean has defined on the ground and what the professional surveyor finds when he does the survey, then it's kind of up to you guys as the landowners at this point. Legally, by law, by Bepean's regulation, you guys own whatever is in between the four patoks at the four corners of your plot. And that's what your certificate's going to say. When there's a land dispute, quote unquote, we're not talking about a dispute, but in other cases where there's a land dispute, what you would normally do is bring the two bordering owners together, and they would together discuss, I want this patok moved that much over that way, and that's fine, that's totally legal and totally doable. It's up to you guys, as long as everyone who has bordering land is involved in that. So, as far as Tano goes, as a community, as a neighborhood, if we do find some error, we will let you guys know, but then it'll really be up to those neighbors to kind of talk it through and decide what you guys feel is the right thing to do about that, if that's okay. Does that feel okay to everybody? Yeah?
Can I just ask you a simple question?
Yeah, please.
Like, for example, on Rick's land, there's two different blue lines. What does that mean?
The inner square
Yeah.
is how Bepean defined his actual building footprint. It's not a border of the plot. They were just using it as like a marker, and it's not right either.
No, I was just wondering
But,
because there's a
yeah.
big space there that's no one's land according
Right.
to the
Yeah,
law.
no,
So
no,
that's why I was
it's
like,
Rick.
wait a minute,
It's supposed to
It's
be a
Rick's
house, but it's inaccurate.
And it created massive dramas. Please don't freak out about Bepean stuff. I've learned. I used to be very freaked out by Bepean, and now I'm like, Bepean, whatever. it's so, changeable.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
And the last one is
Yeah.
so the two new plots that opened up out of Meg's and
Yeah.
what's-
Johann's.
it's not Johann's, but the one next to it. It's not the way it's presented on the map of Queen's Quake there. It's kind of a,
Like an arcade.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's more like on what's on the ground.
Yeah, we'll have a look on site.
So that if someone took both of those, that road, that pathway doesn't necessarily go through it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although the
Oh yeah. If they want to take both, then
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you can eliminate
But
that
how
whole
could-
piece of path.
you could
They
still
gain
get
a
to the
fair
other
bit,
one.
actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so a little kind of overview. We've done quite a bit of earthworks. So in the like our original priority plan, there was things like the amphitheater beside Blacangan. We'll do that later. But the thing is, when you sort of come in and you start doing earthworks and like forming the space for what's to come, it really makes sense to just go ahead and do anything that involves major earth moving or retaining or so on all at once. It's just really inefficient to do it in other ways. So that's why that went in. It was sort of, again, a marker and also a stabilizer of that common land area. The new BPN map does mean that we're going to need to do some more earthworks because the path positions have changed. So we need to adjust where those pathways run and the retaining of that and the permaculture plan. It all has a little bit of a ripple effect. Water management issue, the wetland has been prioritized and that's now in place. And we saw it in action during the rainy season and it was awesome. I mean, that thing was a gushing river on particular days and thank God we had it. Because if we didn't, that would be eroding land on both sides and creating hazard. So that was, fantastic outcome of that whole process we did it down there. And working with the natural landform and enhancing it, and learning from how nature's been working there for so long, and working with those principles as much as possible is really proving its worth. Slope stabilization, for those of you who are on the riverside, you know all about that at this point. So we've gone through, we're at the, sorry, it kind of got a bit late, but we need to do the final reconciliation with everyone. We were done, and then we went and checked, and some of it wasn't done properly in terms of how far spaced some of the bore piles were, so we had to go back and add a few more to just ensure that standard was in there for stability. The pool has been amazing experiment. There's a really, really cool slideshow on Picasa, on the Tomatotanic Picasa web slideshows that shows, I tried to document like every week the progress on this pool. This thing's fascinating. I mean, it really is cutting edge eco-technology if it works. So we're still, to be seen. But the whole floor of the pool is a biofilter. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous. So Kat Hong, who's the biopool designer, has been over several times, and he's closely monitoring. Everybody on the ground is totally freaked out about this pool. It's never gonna work! Every week we get yelled at like 3 or 4 times. And Ong's like, so yeah, he's saying that it needs time, as we were always told, even by David. David said a year. You need time for the ecology of the pool to establish itself because it works based on natural principles and interrelationships between algae and photosynthesis and other components. It's totally fine to swim in. I've drunk some of the water in the pool. Has too. At the moment, actually, you shouldn't swim in it. It's safe. Because we're trying to actually build up the algae at the moment. We need more algae living in the filter system for it to work. But yeah, in about a month's time, next time we come to site, bring your bathers. And we can start, really testing this puppy out and see how it goes. Yeah.
We're doing pH testing of the water like every week, every couple of days actually, just to monitor and see the different times of day, how the pH changes and over time. So it's a lot of, it's like a study case as well. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Sometimes the water, like you see it going like green and then clearing and then green. It's, you see it like trying to establish its equilibrium point.
What if somebody puts on sunscreen and swims in it? Is that going to affect the pool itself?
That's a really, really important question. Okay, so one of the things that we have built right at the pool, on the pool deck, right, is shower. So you walk onto the pool deck and then you walk to the shower, no matter whether you put on sunscreen or not, and you have a wash. And try and get into that pool as clean as possible. It's really quite critical task actually. And we need to, educate visitors if there are such. We need to, educate our children and our choo-choos. And we purposefully put the shower right next to the kiddie pool. So that, it just needs to become a habit. It's a habit we need to develop. And we'll be also, looking at some kind of like maybe nice signage that explains some of these eco-technologies and also, how to, sorry?
Has this pool been tested out before in terms of the specific technology or not?
This particular system has been, there's two already built that are private pools. This is the first time a public pool has been made of this type. So we are pioneering. We are definitely pioneering. In fact, I don't know if you all remember, if you heard about it, but at one point, said no. His lawyers were like, and we went through a long discussion about it, and we talked through, the plan A, B, C options, and talked to his lawyers, and
The liability waiver release.
yeah,
What lawyer?
how our eco-technologies are kind of progressing over time, which will, hopefully really influence all sorts of projects in all sorts of places. So that's part of our goal. What we're doing. We also built the engineering room, which in our priority survey was quite low on the list. But it turned out that that item, it wasn't just a building to like hammer some stuff together. It's actually the housing for, stock compat and macam-macam. So you'll see when we're on site, it's almost done. And we've got KLN power supply hooked up into there. The depot is right next to it. The plan is to put water storage on the roof, so it's a flat roof. So we can put storage on the top, which gives us our gravity flow to all plots that come into Tanu. And yeah, we've purchased the electricity in this area is quite relatively remote area, Sumantan, where the neighborhood is located. So the electricity supply was not strong enough to service the plan that we have. So we had to go ahead and purchase some transformers. So that was a big ticket item, about 500 million for that. Yeah. But it's all part of our budget strategy. It's in there. We had space for that, and that's now done. We have a private Tamatana members website, and we post pretty much everything on there, and we definitely post photos, almost on a weekly basis into the Picasa slideshows. So it's like less talk, more visuals. Kind of thing. We don't want to overload you guys with emails, especially since most people don't even anyways. So. Okay, go ahead. Yep.
I just wanted to ask about the utility system.
Yeah.
At what point that's gonna? Because one house in phase 2 is being built, one in phase 1 is being built. So are you putting all those utility lines in all at one time? And is there like a projected time doing that, or exactly? What about the plots that aren't, if I'm jumping ahead, but that aren't sold? Are we putting like the electricity up into that plot?
Yeah, the plan is that there'll be some kind of like a hookup point at each plot. It certainly doesn't make sense to do it piecemeal because these lines they're put into trenches, yeah, that run along the pathways. So we need to bring out an excavator, we need to dig out the trench, we need to talk about that later too, we need to get rid of all that soil. It's going to be a huge amount of soil that comes out of the trenches, which is actually not a bad thing. We want to use that over at the eco farm. So yeah, you need to do that, and then the pipes, like I said earlier, pipes and cables and so on. There's regulations about how deep they need to be laid to like follow government standards, KLN standards and so on. They need to be laid at particular gradients so that the water flows through them and so on and so forth. So
they need to be separated on different sides. They have to be filled with sand and gravel to support that and to provide drainage. So the goal is to lay them all at once.
Yeah, that was my question. Does it be a nightmare?
It is
Very
a nightmare.
expensive to do it afterwards, and it also is not as effective when your sample comes in,
It's what you get. Yeah, the quality, the integrity of the grid is important also for all of us.
And then she was asking about the sold and unsold plots.
She had mentioned that that did bring a contact point or it brought up to the edge of the property, and then inside the property, I guess, would be the people's choice to make it.
Exactly. So yeah, it gets brought to the border of your plot, and then there's a little bit of a couple meters, I forget how many exactly, and then from inside your plot, or our plots, that's our
Responsibility.
we just bring it to the border.
There's, however, something, an important consideration about this, guys, which is that, like, the cost of installing utilities is split, equitably across all of the plots. So the fact that we do have 5 plots that aren't technically sold yet, and those plot owners therefore have not actually paid for their utility lines, our shared budget is footing that bill at the moment. And that's one we're going to talk about budget in a little while and how much out of the moment and so on and so forth. So
But when they buy it, if the money would come back
When they
in.
buy it,
When they buy the money, but for now,
In
then
fact,
we have to.
It would be added onto the top of the buying price, correct?
absolutely, yeah. It's the day one conversation.
Just checking.
Yeah. But basically, to make our lives more convenient and save money now, we
Yeah.
have to foot the bill now, rather than dig up paths.
Yeah, that
It's
doesn't
just
make sense.
not an option.
We've also been doing a lot of community outreach activities, and we're going to have a special session and talk about that a little bit. Some of it is just because we love it. Some of it is because there's substantial potential impacts on the neighborhood itself if we don't do it. It is, and some of it is because offers for like amazing partnerships have been coming our way, and we're like, oh, we should do that. It's cool. However, it has gotten to the point where on-site is overloaded, and we're struggling to keep everything going all at once right now. So we want to talk to you guys a little bit about that, and we need your help to figure out what the right thing to do is at this point. Let's go down. Let's go. Which is what kind of temple we're going to have at the neighborhood, because as you probably know, Ibusoma very kindly organized for Ratu Kadanda Panaginun to come to the site, and he gave us his kind of sense of basically what we should be doing for the temple, so we're kind of following that. There was quite animated dialogue over email about, well, what do we want this temple to look and feel like? And there was some different ideas about that. So, Summer Temple, would you like to talk about the temple a little bit? Just let everybody know what
Well, basically, we had options here. And there's a couple of ideas here, and I think the reality of us being in Bali and wanting to be correct, according to Bali, that the temple is actually an important issue because I see a lot of, especially Western communities and things, they build temples, but they're not really, they're kind of a token because they have to. They're not really activated, people don't really worship at them, and they don't do it really properly. The Balinese laugh often. Tukapa, why is this? Because it's just done as kind of, oh, it's put there, but it's not really taken care of. So, in regards to the temple, because of where the positioning of where it is where it's on the roundabout. When you go around the roundabout, it's at one point there. It's kind of really, as you come in, it's really right in front of us. So it's kind of a statement also. It also helps with the energy, according to the Ratvaranda, that with the energy that it reflects and deflects negative energy. That's one of the purposes of these temples. And so the design of it, you know, it needs to reflect really who we are as a community, and also as honoring and respecting the place where we live. It's an extremely important issue, especially with so many people living there, that the community temple for this community, since we want to run it sort of like a Banjar, and we're modeling it a little bit after the way the Balinese run their villages, that it's a very important issue. So we've had options here, and I think there's been some confusion about the different options. So we have option number A, which is done out of the red brick, which is kind of a traditional look here in Bali. We have option B, which is very rustic and from an era way before now. It's beautiful, it's rustic. I don't know if it's appropriate at the very front of our entrance as we come in. It looks a little bit haphazard and unkept, in my opinion. Here is a third option, kind of trying to put together these two. This one, the pictures have a lot of carving. That's really expensive, obviously. What we're trying to, I think, get across that never really came through is this was the original gate, the original picture shown as option A. It's a gate, it's a chandi. It's not the temple itself. This is the temple, it's quite simple. If everyone turns and looks, there's a temple right here. And this is very traditionally what we can just buy and put there. It has a little bit of carving, it's classic, it's chantik, it's pretty. I think this is more the era that we need to go with than this one. I know the majority of people voted on this one. You show it to almost any Balinese, they laugh. That for me says a lot, and so I personally probably had the strongest opinion about it, and I may be in the community one of the few practicing Hindus. I assume maybe we have another, and we have a few in the. So it's also important to people that are actual Hindus that it's a proper temple that you can actually pray at and worship. It's not just an art object. So in saying that, we kind of need, I think, to vote and decide what we want to do. And here, as far as I'm concerned, you can buy these on the street. It's not expensive. They're really accepted by the Balinese. It's a proper temple. It's the dimensions, everything are correct according to the way that they judge things, according to your arms, the length of your arm, the length of. It's proper. My suggestion is a simple solution, and then we need to build some sort of wall around it that hopefully, because of the positioning, we're going to have a walkway around both sides of it. That the wall around it, it has to be protected so that unknowing people don't walk up in their bikini and sit down on it or something. So there has to be some sort of wall around it of some sort. That could be a living wall, it can be a wall out of paras with spaces in between so that it doesn't, it's not too closed in feeling. Basically, that's kind of it. So I guess we just kind of decide between us if that's what's important, what we want, or if anyone has specific feeling, or
Yeah. So what we want to do is
I would put this as option C, something like this. I mean, that's kind of what option C is about. Yeah?
Yeah, it's good to have a real life.
Yeah, I mean, that for me is perfect. It fits.
Yeah,
Or you
yeah.
can do the same configuration, but with red brick, which is
Other principles that anybody wants to propose about this?
Well, I mean, okay, this is a little bit of Hindu. I mean, but I see. Sorry, I see really clearly that most of the Hindu ceremonies are really like a permaculture message, which is use and respect what's around you. And so that also means the material shouldn't come from Java. It probably shouldn't even come from the other end of the island. It should be something that's local.
I mean,
even if
we
you buy it on
happen
the
to
street.
be
well, ideally hot.
on
Paras.
the Tukatutanu, which has famous paras for temple building. So
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
yeah. Who wants to do?
I think it's basically that style made out of paras. They're both basically
Yeah.
the same style.
Yeah,
And
this
C,
style is
it's
para.
just material, and we've decided on paras, not red brick. So I think then it's just kind of how much carving we can afford.
Yeah.
Do we
And
want
too much
a
is not really
lower
collected.
gate or
I mean,
a
this is a little
gate
bit
like
too
this?
stylized, if you know what I mean. I mean, I don't know if there's I'd like softer lines, which is toward more towards the middle. This is just my personal thing. This is all my robotic it could come out of Transformers or something. Some
Yeah, it's
you
good
know,
too.
and I don't like that feeling, and it's not
Yeah.
traditional. But I mean, a lot of
No,
others
I'm just-
like it, but it doesn't mean you have to go that far.
Sure, I think this traditional is really the way to go. One of the more traditional practices they would do, but yeah, it doesn't have to be. It was just I was standing there and I see this as an example of
Yeah,
like, this is kind of worth it. The
Yeah,
style of the temple itself, you know, a simple version. I like simple compared to really ornate.
yeah.
I like the one in the middle, you know, option C. They've got a strong solid base
Oh.
and a simple structure on the top.
This one?
Is that a
Yeah.
same use? Or is it a different type?
It's a little bit different type because I think this one is the one with the chair.
What's the price difference?
And then, you know, this is the UNECHA multiple hazard map, and, you know, Bali's way up there in terms of being prone to multiple hazards. That, you know, that's like earthquakes and storms and, you know, so on and so on and so on. So yeah, it is important to ensure that you're working, I would say, with a designer for your house that really knows what they're talking about in terms of how to make a house earthquake safe, how to make a house storm safe, how to make a house landslide safe if you're on the riverside. This is no joke. It's very important. I think my house is going to withstand a 20 Richter scale earthquake. The way I built it. There is, you know, some changes. 30 years ago? 40 years ago. This kind of because of the VPN. Walking around the main road of Jakarta, if you're confused, so this is the book. Yeah. This is the book, which is on the website. And it has, you know, for each plot, a brief description of, you know, what Dan and Aaron, you know, what was this almost a year and a half ago now, yeah? What Dan and Aaron recommended based on what they thought were the borders of the plots, but of course those have changed a little bit. So there will be some adjustment needed, but we have, you know, opened this document back up again very recently with our team on the ground and said, guys, this is what we want to do. We had an era, we'll talk a little bit more, we had the last 6-month era where we were kind of leaning a little bit more towards like more engineered stuff. You can't tell you how strongly good it felt to be able to come back to this book and go, you know what? Yay! I feel the same. Okay, and say, you know what? Let's give it a shot. We can always put in a pipe later if we need to.
Totally.
This is
I
a
agree.
permaculture-based eco neighborhood.
Yes.
So, you know, if we don't give it a shot, you know, with all the thought and consideration and all the amazing people that are supporting us, that's the other thing. I mean, Dan and Erin are there for us, and John's there for us, and Robin Francis is there for us. I mean, this is some of the world's greats, and they're full support about what we're doing. So, if you guys agree, I think we should, you know, back to the roots.
I agree.
110%.
100%. Absolutely.
One up. Okay.
Sure.
Because it's, I was really concerned we're heading in this other direction a little bit. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What did I get myself into? Where'd the permaculture thing go? Where's the whole idea of an eco neighborhood gone? I felt it was getting like being over-engineered and
Beautified.
yeah.
So just that
We need to
impression.
be correct. Obviously, we don't want the houses sliding into the river, but it was like, oh wow. I was a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really happy to hear that.
Great.
Since things don't change in the world unless someone takes that first step to be the one to go, oh, okay, I'm going to stick my neck out here a little bit and hope for the best. I think that you're research it enough that you're not just kind of airy-fairily like building stupid things, you know, it's really with some research behind it, so I think trust that.
I
Trust
do
your
get
own
pressured a
intuition.
lot by some of the more technical engineering
I know.
guys. And they say, okay, my recommendation is this. If you don't want to do what my recommendation is, then I can't be liable.
Feel safe, and that's key. But when it comes to the other stuff that's not so critical, then we
Except for water side,
except for water.
because it's the water that will create landslide,
Yeah, yeah,
not the slope.
yeah.
And that's all that we've been focusing on. Like the stuff you see on site is all dealing with slope, it's all dealing with water. It's like this baseline foundational stuff. So, you know, we use a lot of riverstone, there's cement used, like structures that are built to last for decades, you know.
Yeah.
That and the budgetary chaos. That I'm a project manager. I like my budget, like, I want to know exactly how much we're spending in the next 4 days, you know what I mean? And that's been really difficult. And, oh, this is going to be totally affordable, and it's a great solution. It's better because it'll be less expensive. Yep. Huh? We just spent a month on this. Are you kidding me? You know, so we've had quite a few setbacks in terms of being led down tracks that, you know, this is going to be the best option for you because of this, you know, technical reasons, budgetary reasons, so on and so forth. And then
those two are very closely connected. You should probably realize every single suggestion in the back of it is a price.
Go to the site. I haven't been there for a few months, but to have somewhere where it's cozy, where it's not necessarily the office, where there's a bit of landscaping or some kind of way to make it feel a little bit more, you know, like a hut somewhere, like we were chatting about by the river, or some place where we can kind of hang out there on site could be a nice kind of.
maybe we'll
place.
on
Even
site
on one of our
today.
pieces of land, a ballet that we could
Yeah.
just sit in.
Mm.
So-
I often bring a nasi and don't know where to sit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's hot. It's
Okay. Construction access issue. So that's the major consideration around that. Like there's practicalities also that we have to consider for the next couple of years. So if anybody has ideas of where you'd like, what type of, you know, it's got to be super cost effective, okay?
Mm.
Super cost effective. Like I'm talking 5 million a month.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the budget is not related.
no, we were
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
even less is the bamboo.
These guys are saying they'd like to have a little bit of a space set up for for like the members to use when they're on site, to just chill out, and that's not the office because the office tends to be quite crazy.
We could also find all the renting things, right?
So we could make something for 3 million probably.
Easy out of bamboo.
You know,
or
just
just a
simple
ballet.
little shack.
So yeah, we would actually love to bring Dan and Erin back to, you know, spend a bit of time on site now that the earthworks have been done. and also help us make sure this plan is, matching where we're at. But at the moment we can't really afford that, the cost of the budget. So we'll see how things unfold. But that would be really cool. Okay, so now that some of this permaculture-based earthworks has kind of started and shown how it works, and it is working, we're focusing in a little bit more on the building scale, the per building, yeah? So, as most of you know, my house is kind of like the kind of guinea pig, and we're testing a lot of stuff out there and learning a lot there. So this is basically the system that is being implemented there. It's complicated. It's the difference between, in a normal house, you'd have two pipes. Like one pipe with water coming in, and one pipe with water going out. Pretty much, that's about it. In this system, you've got about 25 different pipelines that you're dealing with. So it is a commitment. It's a commitment in the design process. It's a commitment in the implementation process. It's a commitment in doing your head in. So basically how it works is we've got 3 different sources of water coming into the property. So there's the deep well, which is considered to be an emergency backup supply, rainwater, and then stormwater, surface water, groundwater. The rainwater is the water of choice. So that's the one that we fill the tank with first. And there's a sort of sensor system in that tank, which is really important, that makes sure that your tank doesn't start getting filled with well water until you really, really are almost out of rainwater. Because the rainwater will go up and down in the tank. So you have to be very careful that it doesn't trigger the well water coming in when you don't want it to avoid the use of that water. And then, as in any house, from your water source, it's going to a few different places. It's going to your toilets, it's going to your laundry, however you do that. It's going to bathing and washing, hygiene. It's going into your kitchen for cooking and for dishwashing. And in our case, where we're using a urine diversion toilet, when it comes out from here, it's being split into 2 different places. So one is taking the urine and tanking it, and the other is everything else and tanking that in a biofill. So I'll run through the whole thing for one of these. So a biofill tank is an aerobic honeycomb, basically. So inside the biofill, it's quite amazing to look at, actually. It's like this, what do you call it? Condominium for microorganisms. It's designed with that in mind. So it's designed to create good habitat, environment for them to live. And when they're healthy and they multiply well, that means they eat more. So the quality, the level of treatment that you get for your black water is increased. So that's how the biofill works. And there's, you do need to put some stuff into it, the actual microorganisms themselves, every now and then. And all the instructions on how to do it and where to get the stuff and blah 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 blah, and what the tanks cost and what sizes they are, it's all in here. From that tank, many people have said you don't need to, but I'm not comfortable with that. I am going to run the effluent from my biofill into a wastewater garden. I just feel that anything that comes off to Montana must be absolutely clean when it hits the river catchment again. So, if I can hurry up and get this done quickly enough, you guys can, if I made a mistake and I didn't need to do it, you can see my water test results and avoid that step. I believe you need that step. That's my educated opinion. Whereas a lot of people are saying they're worried about it, but I don't buy it.
So you have the plans to test from the biofill output?
Yeah. Different steps. Yeah.
Quick
This
question.
is a big experiment for wastewater gardens. about, can you reduce the size of the wastewater dramatically because of the biofill? etc.
What's the cost of a biofuel tank, approximately?
I will demonstrate the empowerment of the Tamil Tanya members and how they all they need to do is pick up the book, open the book. Yeah. How do you do that? How do you do that?
Yes, I don't know. No, there must be a way to do it because how otherwise could they tell you if the water level has dropped? I mean, basically a deep well.
We heard that mostly from contractors who do drill wells.
Yeah, they know where the water level is coming in. But we should be able to know because according to everything I understand, we should be actually raising the water table by doing all this.
Yeah.
But it would be good to know that we are.
Yeah. Okay. It's different sizes for different size homes. Gives you dimensions so you can put it into your planning for sinking the tank, all that stuff. And all these elements, same, at a price list, at the options, at who to contact if you want to buy one.
Did you say it was anaerobic or anaerobic?
Anaerobic.
Anaerobic,
Yeah.
Whenever it says anaerobic as well, if somebody's using the toilet, if your house is closed up for 2 or 3 months, the system can die. So they actually need people that are using the toilets. If not, maybe a nice neighbour can get some cow manure and find a pound or something. It needs food. These things are living systems, so you have to keep them alive.
You can reboot them.
Yeah, but it's better that they
It's better
die.
not to. Yeah. We just have a roster and we can shit in different people's houses.
Yeah.
I want some Soma Gold this weekend. Party at my place.
Shit over.
BYOS.
Someone can make us all brownies.
Oh, come make brownies in my house.
In my house alone, let's continue this. In my house alone, there's 12 people, albeit, just by using UDTs instead of a Kapuka Fresh, 90,000 liters of water per year saved. This is crazy. So the other thing that's, huge impact is actually, strangely enough, dishwashers. I couldn't believe it, but the amount of, with a water efficient dishwasher versus hand washing, the water saving is like massive.
The dishwasher
70% saves water. Heaps of water.
Contradictory, yeah?
A water efficient dishwasher. Yeah.
We've got an Australian officials hand workshop.
All that being said, I don't want to make problems by circulating this in the sense that you do need a proper hydrology design to help you fuse those. Don't just start slamming this stuff in the ground without really understanding things like pipe gradients and, what I said earlier, it's the difference between 2 pipes and 25 pipes. That's a big difference. If you just do that, piecemeal, hodgepodgely, unless you're a technical person who really, can think that through, you're gonna need some help. So, we highly recommend David Hutchinson. He's amazing. He's babysat us for years now through this process and really helps and really believes in the vision of what we're trying to do. And he's amazing. And we've also got, what's coming together to be quite a strong team on site at the moment. So our draftsman, Oka, has detailed out a lot of these hydrology systems in cooperation with David. He's really learning about it. They were new project managers, really getting into it. It's quite good. So as you all know, because you're supposed to have signed off on it when you join the neighborhood, Town of Katanu has a building guideline, which has, guidelines in it about what you can and cannot do when you build a home at Town of Katanu. That original document was written by Guy Morgan.
because we were too early in our learning curve to be able to do such a thing. And we found over time, as some of the homes started being designed, as some people started working with their architects, so on and so on, that there was a lot of confusion about what the meanings of some of the things in the guidelines were, and also how to implement them, and there was stuff missing, and blah blah blah. So we sort of started looking at it and saying, it's time, we really need to review this guideline. It needs to be user-friendly, it needs to be real, and it needs to be implemented. Otherwise, it's just a piece of paper on a shelf. Like, why would we bother? You know what I mean? Let's not do the Indonesian bureaucracy thing. Let's love our guidelines and nurture them. And follow them.
Yeah.
And have a mechanism.
Most importantly, let's follow them. That's
Yeah.
why they're there.
Institute on it. So that's the key point. Let's follow them. So to be able to follow them, they need to be followable. So that's the other thing, to not be too idealistic about stuff. Where, you know, it sounds so cool, but can we actually do it? Is it realistic? Do you know what I mean? So I wanted to just take this moment with you guys to like go through this document and, you know, get the shit that you're worried, like, oh my god, can we actually do that? Let's get it out for now. Or we can rephrase it as, you know, recommended, but it's not wajib, it's not harus or whatever, but we just need to check this phrasing quite carefully, because you're right, if we follow it, then someone's going to have to advise and monitor on that, and this needs to be the guiding document for that. So,
do you want to talk about the houses that are already on site? Because we kind of use them as guinea pigs to go through some of the guidelines and see how they're actually following the guidelines that are existing now.
Yeah.
And that kind of actually, that's what launched the revision a little bit of it. Even though we did the calculations of like maximum footprint and stuff like that, and local houses are actually following the guidelines, which is a good thing. But when it comes to, there's new things coming up about like water
Can I
and
get
wastewater
online?
stuff that we need to start adding.
Is it clear access?
Document.
And it's definitely a draft, guys. I took some stuff out, put some stuff in, made some notes like need to write this, need to write this. You're in a bit of a rush to get ready for today. So we're gonna ask you to, you know, take 10 minutes or whatever, 15 minutes to read it. And then, oh, there is, okay. And then there's or removed outright. Anything that you feel is missing and needs to be added into it. And any other thoughts you have about it. If you could just write. Oh, this is 2045, by the way. Silverkill recommended this in the past month, contacting us, just in the past month. I mean, we have put no message. So at the moment, these are the main outreach, we call it, programs, which focus primarily on Sumampan, Banjar Sumampan, which is our direct sub-village, and then Desa Pakraman Sumampan, which is the 3 Banjars around us, and then Desa Kamano, which is the village that we're based in. So we have a program running at the moment in one of the local primary schools, the SDN. We'll see how long that team is going to continue running that program. A team that goes there once a month or to do other things. But at the moment, mostly around environmental education and have some fun, be creative. That's very much supported by Rick, who's been doing fundraising and helping that team guide. Rick, through his involvement with the school program, actually inspired people so much because he's so inspirational that someone donated a building for the living classroom, which is it's a Joglo type building. So then we started talking about, well, okay, we could make our own small sort of training center called the Living Classroom Center. So that we'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. Then the Kumanu Waste Program. When we first bought the land here in Kumanu, there was a quite large illegal dump site just on the corner there where you first enter Kumanu. So we worked with some really dedicated local community members, and yeah, after 15 years of this illegal dump site running with, up to like 15 trucks a day bringing garbage from Wood and Swati and all over the place, managed to shut that down, which was amazing. And then after that, we've been trying to help the village who wants to have a sustainable solid waste management system for the community. And so, yeah, meanwhile, all this stuff's happening. There are some people talking about potentially giving some grants to help with some of this work. But we don't, Tompatana doesn't have any legal body really. It's just us. Just a bunch of people that in their houses, friends, basically. There's no business, there's no whatever. So yeah, the idea came up to start a non-profit as an entity under which we can do particularly this kind of work accountably and I guess legally, because all sorts of weird stuff happens, especially in Bali. And so yeah, we had a members gathering at Rick's house a few months ago where we talked a little more about what kind of format would be the best organizational format for that, and the idea of using a kumpulan was sort of strongly supported. So we've made some steps on that, which yeah, it's going well. In the beginning there was a lot of resistance. The school didn't want to do it, a couple of us didn't want to do it. It was a huge thing to get this program up and running from the bureaucracy standpoint. It's about 10 ara, quite close to the Taman site. We've rented that for 20 years, and the idea is that at some point we'll put the Joglo thing on that land, and that'll become a more permanent site for the ongoing of this program. Because the other schools are all like, well, why aren't you doing stuff at our school too? And the program just keeps on. So we feel that if we kind of centralize this stuff, and then the kids can come when they want to, and it can be used for adult education as well as children, that might make it more manageable at that point. So at the moment, the next steps are we need to do some more fundraising because we don't really have enough money at the moment to build the living classroom building. And they're donating the Joglo, but we also need to make the foundation and the water tanks and blah blah blah. So we had a chat with Rick a few days ago, and we agreed that it might be better. We were planning to build it in March, which is
now.
So the big, so the goal of the eco farm is helping. We did a community livelihoods mapping for Desa Kraman Sumampan like a year and a half ago, and we found that people don't grow anything here. They don't do animal husbandry here. They don't. Basically, even if Warung wants to serve nasi bungkus, the ibu go all the way to Blabatu to Belanja to get the bahan baku, the stuff, raw materials. Thank you. The raw materials to cook nasi bungkus. Right? So that helps on that side, the environment, and it's great for everyone living at Tamanpanu to know that you've got a good source of organic supplies. So what's been happening with this program lately is we did a PDC a few months ago, which was amazing. It was really cool. We had one of the world's top permaculture teachers, Robin Francis, came. She was also the teacher that launched EDEP Foundation, by the way, 15 years ago. And yeah, we were kind of targeting like 20, 25 participants. Like usual, we had 45?
Before.
44. Wow, it was a big chorus. And permaculture, PDCs are intense. They're like 2 weeks solid, like boom, boom, boom. So it was a big group. And quite a few of the group were local farmers, which was really cool, and landowners, and so we got a really local perspective into that. So that course resulted in the production of, as permaculture courses tend to do, a whole bunch of really cool designs and ideas for like permaculture projects. And we asked them at that time to sort of focus on this eco-farm plan, and if they would all these 44 people, if they could work together to come up with ideas that would be good to implement here at the project. And then following the course, Robin and I sat down and went through all of the design work and came up with this. It's a 1 to 500 basic master plan, which synthesizes pretty much most of the design work into a master plan for the eco-farm area. So this area up here is the living classroom. This is the 10 ara that we've rented. This is Taman Putana over here. And yeah, it's a really nice mixed system with like lots of aquaculture and SRI, organic farming demonstrations, vegetables, herbs. A little bit of, once we get down into this area, the riparian zone, or the more close to the river, where all the trees are, which is a more natural area that you don't want to change the land too much. More animal husbandry and food forest kind of strategies down there, like fruits, and it's nice and shaded, so it's good for the animals. And talking about all sorts of things, like some value adding with the Bali experts on that anyways. Yeah, maybe Baliasi could help us come up with some good ideas for what could be done here. And even a slaughterhouse, actually, because what we've seen, the way animals are slaughtered here in Bali particularly, it can be very inhumane. So we'd like to demonstrate better methods for animal husbandry. So, meanwhile, Accio Energy is, I think, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, clean energy production companies in Europe. And they've recently made an agreement with the government of Indonesia to sort of spearhead, pioneer clean energy, large-scale clean energy production in Indonesia. So they have an MOU with the government that says if they produce it, PLN has to buy it, and they have to buy it at a premium. So they're gung-ho to set up shop, and they've got some quite large projects that they're setting up in different areas. But they like the idea of doing a small project in cooperation with Taman Putana. And when I say small, it's minimum 2 hectares. We want this locked in, we want to know for sure that you guys have that 2 hectares, and you can guarantee it. Otherwise, it's not worth it for us to come in and set up a weather station and create the model and so on and so forth. And they were also, part of the deal was they were willing to supply energy directly for the living classroom center, water for the farm using the catchment, and also possibly a substantial amount of grant money to support the living classroom over time. So they said off the bat, pretty sure 20,000 euros, and then more following that if it's going well. So it's a bit of a tricky situation where we don't know whether how much energy we should be putting into this, because there's a fair bit of setup involved, and
And it's said that growing under these greenhouses, these solar greenhouses, will produce like double, triple, quadruple yield of produce. But
We gotta check that.
we still haven't fully confirmed that fact. But if it's true, then that's major advantages for the farm. But if it's not, it might not be worth the effort.
Yeah.
And this yellow part on the map here is the land that you would hope to expand to, and he's the same owner as that
Different
has
owners.
donated the
6 different owners for 2 hectares of land.
So we
Who have expressed interest, but you know, talk is cheap when it comes to land stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've used this current landowner pop book to make a standard template partnership agreement that successfully has gone through now. To use that as like a model to show to others as well. But it's a lot of work. Like our team.
Oh, okay. That's a bit of a sad story, that lot. So that's the lot that's immediately adjacent to Town Katanu. The landowner was a really kind of good friend of Town Katanu's named Patlamo. He was, I don't know if you noticed, there's that little hut when you first come in. I don't know if you went in the hut and drank the twak that's made in the hut.
My driver does.
That's not good.
I'm like, wait a minute.
These are local twak grandpa. So Patlamo climbed up those coconut trees that are all around Town Katanu pretty much every day of his life and go back, you know, when he needed to make his twak in his hut until we showed up and turned his world upside down. And unfortunately, and we were originally going to work with him on a few things, although it was a little tricky because he has 2 wives and his wives don't get along, and then they both have kids and the kids, you know. So, anyways, a month or a month and a half ago, there was that really crazy storm, the big wind, remember? Yeah, Patlamo was up a tree when that storm hit, right on the corner of Town Katanu actually, and he fell, and he broke his neck and he passed away. So it's really, really sad. Telling us whether we should work with him or not.
No, writing the one for the 20,000 euros.
Yeah,
It's also a good idea. I think when you're starting, especially a community like this, that maybe just keep it small. Maybe they go someplace else, but they might come back to you because what you're doing is fantastic, and then you have more leverage because what you're doing is already working. Like, you don't want to make yourself, especially the Alamsante team, too stressed out. It's also not sustainable.
Yeah.
I think that once you sign up with Aqua, they will really push you.
Yeah, I think so.
And they being like a big fish,
Yeah.
they would have no regards.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I would.
I like their concept, but
And let's face it, I mean, it's not them, someone else will jump in at some stage. You know? But I mean, with all the stress that's happening right now, you really want to put some more on your plate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to say no to opportunities that seem workable, but yeah. Totally.
But it gives you strength also. They can't be bought so easily, you know? It adds power to your position.
Right.
I mean, there's a fine line there, but anyway.
Yeah.
The other one, sorry to you, but this is important. Like, the other big benefit we saw to working with them is that our neighborhood right now, we're not addressing like alternative energy so much in the common areas yet, or you know, in our private homes we might. But this was like a nice balance of like, okay, we might not be running on renewable energy directly, but we're putting 1 megawatt of power back into the grid, of clean power, back into the grid, and so that was addressing, you know, the energy side of things for our community.
It's, we had one really big breakthrough recently, which is that letter which you see there on the screen is a letter, it's a directive from the Department of Public Works at the provincial level to the Bupati of Gianya, the Kapila Desa of Kamano, and a few other people saying, you gotta stop mining along, all the way along the Chikatano River.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yes.
That's a big thing. But it's just a piece of paper right now, and we need to turn that piece of paper into something more than a piece of paper. I would like to actually take a moment and say thank you to Soma and some other people who were kind of lobbying behind the scenes through their networks and their channels, and I think it had an impact. We need to figure out smart strategies for lobbying the Bupati. Because the letter's gone from Provinci to the Bupati. It's probably very, very low on his list of priorities right now. We need to get that letter on the top of his pile and we need to keep pushing it. So there'll be a few steps. Yeah, it'll be from province to Ratu's daughter is her second. Voila!
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Oh,
Ratu's daughter.
Maju lagi bu.
secretary.
Maju. So yeah, I have copy of
Holy.
that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks so.
Sign the contract.
Okay, film around to the Banjars in this area and screening it at the Banjar level and having discussions with people, because there's even a lot of people in Kamano who had no idea that there was mining happening there. It was very hush-hush. So we did a few rounds of that, and then things started kind of heating up on the ground. Like, people were starting to get a bit like, who the hell are you to tell us what to do, blah blah blah. And the team came back to us and said that they felt it was better to like stop the screenings for now, because it could turn into a situation where the stakeholders in the mining get pissed off at Tanu, which who knows where that could wind up. So with a heavy heart, we've kind of decided it's better to just chill out for now a little bit. And Lala's been helping us with some mass media kind of approaches, so hopefully we'll see some articles in the next
And
month.
photo
or so.
stories also.
Huh?
And photo stories also.
Photo stories as well. Nice. Good girl. Okay, so we'll see. The main thing is if anybody has any ideas on how to freak out the Bupati, go for it. And we've got how to get the Bupati like thinking about this issue and addressing it and working on it. That's the next step in the next episode in the Paras mining cleanup. Okay, dump site. Dump site is fully shut down. You rock! And the community waste management project is in trouble at the moment because they can't manage it, and they're losing money and their kind of program, which again, we sort of like dropped the ball on this program a bit when the mining came up. This used to be our main focus, then the mining started, and we started focusing on the mining, and now these guys are like goyang. So yeah, this is an important program which needs more attention at the moment.
There's some possible really good solutions though that have come onto our radar that we're also like liaising to the head of the village waste program and stuff like that. Like, so we'll see what happens. Like, that situation could turn around really quickly.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. And I think we're close to the end here. So the village's vision. We've been involved for quite a long time, since we first started being here. Been helping them with marketing, campaigning tools for the program, advice on the program. Shirley and Vigade work quite closely with Pokdawis, the local tourism board. And at the moment, we're just some work in terms of more cultural arts, retreat center near Tamakatano. It's very early days though, and we don't have enough time to talk about it today. But yeah, somehow tying, the mining, the environment, the farming, with this program seems to be the way to go. Like it all fits very well under this umbrella. It's just about, ensuring that the community has some ownership of the stuff that we're doing and how we manage that in a way that's comfortable for everyone involved, that's safe, and sound and so on. Great feedback, thank you. So it seems everyone prefers the name Kukulan Tanu, which is cool. It also seems that everyone was relatively happy, everyone who responded was happy with the Anggaran Dasar for the Kukulan, which is pretty basic. The people that have agreed to join the board of the Kukulan are those listed there. And unfortunately we can't sign it today, which was our goal, since Bang Monggena's here in Bali, but we'll have to find another time as soon as possible for that. And then there was the question about the logo for the Kukulan. Not everyone responded to that survey, And from those who did respond, we had a tie between two options. So Rod, Richard, Awal, Ajay, and Taryn. Taryn responded.
No, I don't think I ended up.
Oh, you didn't? Can you guys vote
Sure.
quickly? And then we can lock it in? That would be awesome.
Are we just selecting one?
Yeah.
Or we're doing
You
one?
can do as many as you like.
Really?
Yeah. And if anybody wants to change their mind, that would be the time to do that. But what if you just pick one? If you have a second person?
I voted on three.
Nice.
That's right.
We have very loose statistical
I don't think so.
approaches.
Three has been decided.
I put for one and three.
Close. You're gonna face right. And then whoever's in front of you, just give them a quick massage. Nice little massage.
While walking.
Nice little massage.
You're okay, I understand. We all did walk.
Slowly. Sit. Sit. That's it. Sit.
Take off your
And
hands.
if we do it really well, then put up our hands.
Now what do we do? We're stuck.
Honestly.
Now we're gonna take a step forward with our that's true. That's actually possible.
At the same time, oh, avoid squishing the worm. You're ecologically conscious. Are we going now, please?
Are we ready?
Never gonna go.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
What? Oh my god, you're in a hurry, Petra.
Keep up with Petra. We're not gonna
Ngopi dulu. Lagi.
Okay,
1, 2, 3.
so far, this is a checkpoint. So I won't go through each one, you can just read it. But the bottom line is like big-ish buildings, we just don't have the funds to do them at this point. So anything that's building is Kuluru. We did prioritize what has to do with basic, hardscaping and grading and earthworks. M is also well underway at this point, pretty much done. Then we can go play badminton with Colin if you'd like to in the sports field finish up. Since some landscaping really. And what does this average mean over here? Oh, that was just when we surveyed you guys, like which ones came up as higher priority from the members surveyed when we did it before. And yeah, I'm gonna in a minute, I'll talk a bit about, yeah, like I said earlier, this past 6 months was a little bit of a roller coaster for us. We were kind of led off in a new direction, that Catania was going to be way, 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 way cheaper, and we could get way, 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 way more bang for our buck. And we spent a lot of time working on that, and we spent a lot of time redesigning and reconsidering based on that promise. And at the end of the 6-month period, we found out that it wasn't really true. So, when we got to the point where we could get quotes back in of like what it would cost to actually build these amended plans, sama aja. Mahal ada juga. So, we have hired a new project manager who we're quite happy with. He's Balinese, very experienced, 20 years experience in the construction business. Masawal helped me interview him about a month ago. Thank you.
Is Mark no longer with us?
Mark is still available as an on-call advisor, but he's not managing the project at this point in time. No longer. Pat Dewa is now the project manager. So, as I mentioned earlier, based on the BPN mapping, RIS mapping, and the utility supply line plan, we need to remap. So that's about to launch any minute. And then we're going to dig out the trenches and lay the utility lines to all the plots. That's the next step. And we're going to focus also on the pathways and the routes and just getting all of that movement stuff locked in. We're going to move the soil that gets excavated from digging the trenches over to the eco-farm. Because it's actually nice soil that hasn't been fully contaminated with chemicals and blah blah. So it'll be a really big boom for the eco-farm area rehabilitation to be able to move it over there. And it's a lot of soil, and if you don't move it there, where are we going to put it, kind of thing. It's a big problem with construction, actually, what to do with excess soil. And we're going to kind of focus on really getting ready for you guys to start building your homes, some of you, because me and Rick have had all sorts of dramas. And we're, again, learning lessons from that. Pat Dewa thinks that the above 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps will take between like 5 to 6 weeks, maybe a little bit more max, to do all of that. And then he advises that we don't get too ucha-uchi about the common facilities construction until that process is done. And maybe at that point we're going to have some new income in the system, and we can look at how we want to use that most effectively. So what to build first. And meanwhile we'll be working on getting new quotes for construction. This cash flow projection is based on best case scenario, which is that we sell all the remaining plots, which is what, 5 plots, did we say?
Yeah.
5 plots by mid-2013 is pretty optimistic, considering how things have been going lately. Although it's combined with the idea that Alam Santi will maybe get this bank loan to take on a couple of the plots, so that would reduce it from 5 to maybe 3 or something like that. So if we achieve that, if we do that, then we'll have a balanced budget of 1.7 M for common facilities construction, which is quite good, because we've managed to save some money, but I'm not supposed to say that, right? Grace. But yeah, we started with a total budget for common facilities development of Tiga M, and we've definitely spent more than Satu Tiga so far on the work that we've done. So we're doing quite well on that front. And who knows, as time goes by, we might have more savings and more efficiencies and stuff like that. Plan B is Alam Santi gets the loan because we've been told by Donnie that it's fairly optimistic that we will get it. The amount has been reduced. It was 7M, but it's been reduced to 5, because otherwise we have to go through all these audits and like too much room. But still, we think we can keep going with that. If that happens,
6 and 10 not yet sold.
so this is a scenario, yeah? So the scenario is Alam Santi gets the loan by mid-2013, cash in hand, but plots 6 and 10, which are still not sold, don't get sold. Just 5 plots.
So
You
6
take
and 10
on
would be
3
retained to be sold as land.
at the moment, yeah. But I mean, if we find that with this Alam Santi strategy, it like picks up really fast, we can, roll that out. It's just, partly we really
I
want
just
to
didn't
keep-
understand the wording. That's all.
Okay.
I thought it was 10 and 12.
No, we're focusing on the riverfront.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing. Let's not go into too much detail
Okay.
now, yeah? Okay. With this money, we feel, off the top of our heads, it has to be reconfirmed, yeah? But we feel that what we could do with 1.7 is finish the pool and the deck and all that whole area, do a simplified version of the Wantalan plan, do the reception and admin area and the playground and some landscaping, but
Like
yeah.
it's hard now, so to make those choices based on that.
But again, don't take all of that stuff too seriously at this point. We have to go into like costing laggy, and we have to see how much money we have to work with, because it makes a big difference if we have all the money at once, and if we have, you know, a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow, a little bit the next day. It's not the same. Okay, plan B, we figure we can do the pool, reception, admin, playground, and landscaping, but no one-to-one. So you get less buildings at that point. And, you know, the one-to-one and whatever is then delayed until such time as there's more income coming in. So maybe it's nanti next year or the year after, as long as, you know, it's within a reasonable amount of time that those remaining plots get sold. Scenario C is somebody doesn't get the loan and plots don't get sold and we're kind of stagnant where we are now. And if that happens, we have to stop now, or real close to now, in terms of common facilities stuff. And we need to wait until there's more serious cash into the system.
These are just some backup scenarios and plans that we looked at based on cash flow. And, you know, another scenario that popped into my mind too, and, you know, is that maybe, like, perhaps, I don't know, if some of the members want to say, actually, I'm going to be living there soon and I want this facility, we could combine pool funds and pre-fund in advance some of these things until the plots sell later. Like, there's a lot of different creative solutions that we can come up with that we feel comfortable with. And, we, you know, I think we just need to commit to looking at that later if that scenario comes up.
The trouble with this particular thing is that you basically have to wait and see what happens, isn't it? Do we sell our plots now or not? Do we get the loan? Is it worth investing in building the houses and reselling, etc., right? So it's not a matter of being able to actually make a decision. It's sort of see what happens. I mean, does somebody come in and buy a plot straight away? Then that changes the
changes
situation,
everything.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. On site, this is, you know, mostly me and Rick experience, and just watching, you know, the drama on site. We're there pretty often. Coordination of the site is going to be a really critical issue as this thing starts up, you know what I mean? Like, apalagi if we all start doing our own thing on our own plots and running like that. So it's really, really important that we have good communication between ourselves, and we trust each other that if you commit to this, that, you know, you're going to do your very best to actualize it, and so on and so forth. So there's that stuff in terms of like planning, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, like what you plan, and being open about that, and being relatively realistic about that, so that the other people can start working on their plans based on your plans. It's interconnected. It's like it's a neighborhood. We're connected to each other. It's really important. And the other thing that's important is, you know, physical stuff, like access routes, like how, because, dude, hand carrying building materials from like here to there, it's going to cost you more than the materials themselves, like, for sure. So, so
it's at least the cost of the materials itself to hand carry at that time.
Yeah.
Wow.
The house cutting. So, you know, it would be nice if there was a way, which we've already talked about and is shown on that map, that people could have small truck access for a limited period of time. You know, up to X date. You can bring in a pickup, and the site is designed to facilitate that at the moment. This was talked about like months ago.
A few months ago, but it's changed since then because plot 12 we used to come in on the bottom side of the
there's
swimming
more
pool.
plot changes now. Sorry, this is the old thing.
Is it? Or
Yeah.
is it a new
Well,
one?
numbering is
No, it's the old one.
Yeah, this is the old
Number.
configuration construction. Like it becomes a free for all. We've seen some funny things
I'm sure.
over the past few months.
Huh.
It's something that we're just putting on the table. We feel like over the year and a half, we've put together a relatively solid team who's quite good at coordinating the site and overseeing construction and so on and so forth. It still has to be seen yet. Pate was just started, but I have a good feeling about him. And finding him was hard, like that another members gathering. It's a
a little funny. But I just thought it was good to, it's easy to say stuff, but then it doesn't actualize. We also, I think we were too generous in how short of time we felt it would take to do this stuff. Like, I would say for a house you're looking more at, you know, a couple years. Depending on the size of the house, complexity of the house, and so on. But including design and, you know, getting, you know, real eco plumbing systems designed for it and all that stuff. A little bit of innovation, not just yasa yasa. You need to definitely add time and energy and focus for that if you're going that route. And if you recommended to put it in the building guidelines, awaso.
I think what would speed up the process a huge amount is if we just had an amazing team of experts in these areas that can work with each one of us. So we're not all like overlapping and saying, okay, I'm gonna find a plumbing guy and you're gonna find a plumbing guy and you're gonna find an energy guy, and we're, you know, if we have a team of builders that we could hire that could work on our houses in phases, and we pay them by month maybe. I mean, that's what we did. That's how we saved a bunch of costs on the island, by just hiring a team, and they were building, and they were consistently building.
Well, that you mentioned that, having said that, what about the people that you guys have been working with? Would we recommend them?
Some yes, some no.
Yeah.
And we'll be replacing the ones that we don't recommend relatively soon, so we can evaluate those ones.
So with other words, these guys then are potentially available.
Well, that's what this proposal and the previous slide is about. Like, if we find good people, find a good team, keep them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Sure.
for you guys. Huh?
Not if, when. When we find.
Oh.
As we grow our team.
Yeah, as we grow the awesome people that we already have
Yeah.
on our team, we
Yes.
want to make sure we keep them. So we think one strategy would be if we share the cost of that and stagger it so they don't get overwhelmed with too many
Yeah.
homes.
Yeah.
That would be a really good strategy.
I think also like the whole thing about the site plan, just like with Richard and and Maya's plot, like if you guys build first, and if I haven't started building, then you've got a big house there, and then how am I gonna get there? And you know, just sorting out that timing in terms of, you know, building.
Through our place. No way.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because I mean, like, you know, for me to go in and read that book and then try to figure out how to do all the plumbing and the biofilter and, you know.
Just read the book, Rob.
Just read the book! I spent so much time putting it together!
No, when you read the book, then you kind of go, okay, now I need to find someone who understands
do
that
it.
book.
I know, right?
Exactly.
Then you
I've
gotta
read
give the book to
but
somebody
I'm
else,
like
and
kinda
you
going,
read it.
Oh.
You do it.
So my question for you guys at this exact moment is, I'm a little nervous that if I sort of like ask everybody to like now here today say, oh, I'm gonna start on this month and I'm gonna finish by this time, that it's just gonna wind up being another one of these things, which is tidak real, ya. Mungkin perlu fikir atau cek sama keluarga atau
Barking at me.
semua.
Barking at me.
Yeah. Does everyone else?
Hero.
Would you like to
Yeah, I think
kind of say? So,
looking at the original schedules and the timelines of things, if you, Rod, and I have been supposedly pretty much done by now, or nearly, and the situation. So maybe if I could start, and then you're nearly done, like you're down the end, and then there's the Rod and I coordination. So. As you know, we only got our certificate, a couple of months ago.
absolutely, that was...
And we only got our actual map a couple of weeks ago, and managed to open it about a week ago. So we only even knew our land pattern, our exact land pattern. Yeah, anyway, what I'm saying is if we have to stick to that, I don't think realistically we can finish by then, but we can go as close as possible to that particular red line down there, the cut-off point.
Yeah.
At the moment, so straight away when we got our the site plan, or whatever you call it, the map of the land, we talked to Heinz, and what we did was we got two architects Heinz
Yeah.
and a Balinese guy,
Yeah.
and they're giving us a very rough idea of how we can properly use the land and a rough design of our houses. The trouble was that with the actual changes to our plot, it was going to be very hard for me as an amateur to fit our original plan on that land because it's just cut an angle across and it seemed to get narrow and thinner and stuff. Anyway, that was the situation. So we're there. We've got two experts who are going to give us an opinion within the next, hopefully again, next week or two. We should get an answer. And that, from Heinz's side, the way he works, is immediately going to involve a rough plan of our houses. So we're on track there, in other words. And we're making it extremely small, extremely simple, and still working on the concept of knockdown, so we can do as much as possible off-site, bring it on and assemble it on the site, which also means minimal interference and disruption to everybody else, really. So we're going to try and stick to that. We were thinking, before you mentioned that before, we have our own builders, the two guys at home who built all our stuff, and they know how eccentric we are and how we work. We were thinking of going with them.
The bamboo cement.
Yeah, they are ready to, also ready and willing to teach other people those techniques if anyone wants.
Super cool.
And Donnie is also will help us with a little bit of project management on site. So that's our plan for now, but the most obvious thing from what you can see here is our coordination with Rod. I mean, Rod and I actually had coordinated, but the very point we coordinated on, that's the line that got changed when they measured the land. Bastards, they actually changed the angles, and that's what messed us up a bit. So that's from our side, and I guess if we could hear something from Rod, then we could start coordinating on that side. On that. Luckily, when you look at the map, you, Rod, and I are that, in that sense, as long as the other plot's empty, we're the easiest ones to deal with. If we're out of the way, of course, it probably helps everybody else.
Yes, Masawell needs us to finish though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. As long as we still have the access, and we're working on it as fast as possible, then we can start freeing up that area.
And then where does the side office go? Well, we'll see. Okay, Masawell might keep it as an option. Like buy it outright, because we've only rented it at the moment, in which case, we'll see. It's rented, so it either stays where it is or it gets moved somewhere else.
Does everybody have a design for their house, pretty much?
I don't.
Yeah.
Because I was like, first of all, I was working with a project management team that decided to stop, and they were putting the pressure on me to go. And I was like, okay, I'll take a break. And then I was thinking about living surrounded by construction, and I was like, no, I don't really want to start right now. So my schedule has been pushed back. But if we can get some agreements from people, knowing when certain things are going to happen, so that we can plan around that, I think that would really help.
I think also if everybody has their design or a decent idea of their design, the sooner we have that, the sooner we can pass that on to a project management team who can look at it and say, all right, if we're going to do these 3 houses now, how long would these specific designs take? And they could help plan it out a little bit more. And if we were going to agree to use it, I think there's almost no question in my mind that if we hire a group of workers on a per month basis over a period of 2 years, it's going to work out being a lot cheaper than each of us individually going for separate teams and having the experts to advise on each one of our houses in terms of the electricals and all of that stuff. So if we all had our plans, even a basic one, we could get that up, could have a look at how the whole place is going to work together and how you have a much more real picture of the whole neighborhood, of the whole place.
Should all have our plans now?
So, well, do we want to try and make a new one of these today, based on this?
I think one other thing that's hard, especially for phase 2, honestly, is like, well, for example, car. she doesn't have a house design yet. I don't have one either. Okay, I've been a member for a little over a year, but she's new. We're gonna have more coming in, and so in our side of the thing, we're a little bit hesitant because of the unsold plots. I think for me, a big one is because there's a big plot in front of me. I really want to know what they're doing before so I can position my house as best as possible. That's my only hesitation.
Yeah.
Is that I don't really want to build something, and then I see they build something directly right in front of my main view that is 2 stories, and I'm looking at a cement wall all of a sudden. I would change my design differently, completely. And that's okay. I'm willing to be flexible on my design, but I don't want to have already spent all the money, done all the work, and then go, oh wow, and either piss the neighbor off because I complain, or tell them I don't like your idea, and they, but this is our lifelong dream. So I'm kind of waiting to see. That's my point. It's not. That's my hesitation.
Yeah.
Because I want to know what's in front of me because it affects my view basically.
Well, I can commit to that because if push comes to shove, and I may still have to go, having one builder or having one contractor make it more easier to get a supervisor.
Yeah. And then we're also there, building with an idea of what's going on. So.
Yeah. So that's and the other thing is the idea of having the idea of building any time longer than 4 months horrifies me.
Building longer than 4 months.
Yeah.
Then buy a prefab.
Buy a prefab, yeah.
Yeah. So
I was looking into it.
I'm really looking into prefab.
Yeah, I understand.
Or a traditional Balinese bungalow, as I'm living in now, which is a no-brainer, and the Balinese can build them forever, and I've seen them going up in no time. So that's also an option. Having said this, I have a question that actually concerned me greatly. I looked at the size of the land, and when I see plot number 9, 40% just for the house makes the house a very, very small house. And I was under the impression that you can make the house like a small shell, but then you can do outside balconies that go over into the garden, but that would not be counted to the 40% of the space that the house occupies. Now, so just said, no, the balcony is part of the 40% that you can use for building. So I'd like to
I overheard Mel say that to somebody.
That was one thing that confused me in the building guidelines. Was it the roof hang or was it the base of the building?
Yeah, I'm a bit
Yeah.
confused also.
Yeah, I'm
I think you were telling AJ earlier that the roof hang, the balcony is considered part of the building, correct?
Well,
That's what I overheard you
Area,
say.
it's area under roof,
Yeah.
and it says the outer perimeter of the widest part of the building's walls or verandas that are constructed either on the ground or upper stories.
So it's correct what I said.
So
it's
yeah.
not like just. Let me know if you can see this one. Say you have 50 square meters on the ground floor and you have 50 square meters on the second floor. You only count 50 square meters.
Yeah.
But what if the roof extends 80 square meters
Cannot.
and underneath the roof is either just grass or patio
or water. That's one.
or water or a wooden veranda? I think that's the question.
It
Is it
says
the roof?
here widest part of any building's wall.
So it's the walls.
It's the walls.
It's the contained area. So it's not the area under the roof. So that needs to be clarified then.
So what about a veranda? What does that clarify as?
We're gonna also make our
That would be
own.
outside of the wall.
That's not what Mel just told us earlier.
That's not what's written. It says
Sorry,
or
wall or
verandas.
veranda.
Yeah.
Actually.
Oh, we can also
Yeah, wall or
decide on
veranda.
that ourselves. What are we looking
So
for?
that means
As long as you keep green as much as possible.
the
I think it
veranda,
also-
the veranda is included in the 40% of the house.
As it's written now, yes. And so you have like 40% of 330 meters squared is like 132 meters squared, times 2. If you do floor.
But this
It's
is
quite large.
That's quite big.
Big. It's like 3-bedroom living
Pretty
room.
big, Sandy.
It is. I was
Yeah,
looking
I
at
used
it.
to
both,
I mean,
both
when I
Rick
stay
and I checked our houses,
yeah.
and everyone's been like, "Oh, your house is big." We were both fine.
But
Based on this calculation, and that web page that I pulled up before
Yeah.
demonstrates how that was measured, like by a professional draftsman, and what the calculation was.
It's just
So-
it's,
Like this is like this Wantanon space is like I think 7x7. It's like 50 meters squared almost. And if you can do 132 meters squared on your ground floor. So if you imagine that, that's like double this
More than
and
double.
some.
Yeah.
so in this kind of a design, would they consider this pillar as the wall?
Yeah, because it says verandas here, so if you imagine that this is open air, I think you would consider that it's just not counting eaves, basically, like the part where the roof extends.
So that would not be counted basically.
It's the floor space.
The floor space.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a wall and the wall's inside, that's a veranda, but it's still floor space. I think if the council floor.
Floor. I think floor. I can say walls then. I don't know. Maybe we need to rewrite this a little bit.
Okay, what do you guys think about a 1 month deadline from now to feedback on this via email?
Yeah, I think
Is
that's
that realistic? But like for real, either.
I think you should make it shorter because people, if they have a month deadline, you forget.
We'll send you 4 reminders in 1 month.
Yeah.
And every Monday.
One of them a video.
Huh?
One of them a video.
Video reminder. Get to it!
I mean,
Do we seriously need a month though, you think?
How long do you
For those
A
that
week,
are, yeah, but you've already
You're
worked with
phase
an
one.
architect. You've
Yeah,
already,
yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like you're further along than some of the others. Like, in terms of,
Like Taryn's a new member, Longena's a new member.
Yeah.
So like within a month, you would want to know when we would start building. Is that what?
when we start and finish building. And just to put our mind at ease, because we're anal, when you would start and finish designing also. And the answers to the other questions that are on this paper also. There's quite a few questions here.
But at least the Riverside ones are our top priority, so those
Yeah.
houses get built as soon as possible.
yeah, I mean, in fact, even if it is at least the design also, then Solma's got her stage 1 done, that she knows
Oh, but no,
what's going to be
that's
in
a
front of
really,
her.
really good
You
point.
know what I mean?
Yeah. But if we design 20, then Soma can proceed. Even if
Yeah.
it's not built yet, right? Let me see. Okay.
Of course, ideally build first, but at least design first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that,
that
that
makes
addresses some.
3D modeling.
Yeah, because then you can position your house accordingly, so you can get the gap, you can get the view, so you're not, it's just little things, but it affects your life.
That means on the other side that Alam Santi should say, should we sell a plot or should we build on it? I think that makes a decision, let's build on it, because then if you design a house, someone says, right, that's good, I'm going to follow that, and then someone comes along and says, I want to buy that plot, and they want to put up something else, then you're back to square one again. You know, if you know what I mean? Does that
Yeah.
logically make sense? Yeah. It needs a sort of a commitment. Yes, we're going to
Well,
do
I'm
that.
not gonna build until next March no matter what, so at this point I've made that decision just financially and other reasons, I've done other things with it. So you have a long time to make the design, so that question that he's bringing up is not. I'm gonna start
It's
the
not
next
time
month, if you
sensitive so
give
much.
me the design, then I go tomorrow, no, it's not like that.
But you're still working on your design.
I'm still working on my design. Slowly.
I mean, I like at the moment, we're in a transition period from a really, really chaotic 6 months, where really, stuff. So I'm hoping that, quite soon we get back to being more strategic, if we there. And, yeah, I like the idea of just, breathing for a couple of months, letting Padewa get his feet on the ground, seeing how things unfold for the next couple of months, and then, hopefully knowing more months from now. With the bank loan, with Machamacham, not worrying about it too much before it happens. Or at least before those 2 months roll out.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, it does.
Doesn't sound like me at all, does it?
What are you going to do? You've got privacy.
Yeah.
I have one thing also in regards to I think this whole thing that I think is important, especially since we are a community, that before anybody builds anything, that all your bordering neighbors should be informed of what you're doing exactly.
It was on
I put that, I think more than one person put that, but I think that that's should be almost mandatory.
So we made a page on the Toronto website for that purpose, where we socialize it, but just a refresh reminder that anybody who has any idea, kira, what you're thinking about building, if you could send us the rough ideas, even if it's a sketch on a napkin, you know what I mean? Just where you're at in your process, and then we'll post it.
It's not a napkin, but it's a, it's a rough sketch on a piece.
There's a lot of value to having information like this centralized in one place, and it's easy to find it. Yeah, so we've got a dedicated webpage for that. So far, it's got stuff about my house, Ajay's house, Mel's old house design. Rick just sent us a bunch of stuff to post on there. So yeah, when you have stuff.
Because, for example, I mean, digging down so much kind of set the protocol for the next neighborhood to kind of almost do the same thing. That's a kind, maybe not, but
not necessarily.
No, not necessarily. But some things might really affect the neighbors. So that's why it's a good idea just to communicate with the people on your borders so that you can work together. So because we're going to live there a long time, it's easy to fix those kind of things in the beginning, and it's two solid buildings there that aren't really chochok. It's much harder to live with for 25,
I think
30
everyone
years.
should go visit Roderick's neighborhood in Jakarta. Seriously.
I'm gonna start locking my door.
No, it's
You don't
so
have
cool.
locking your doors. Got that in?
But I think
It's
like we need
gado
to.
gado sekali.
Yeah.
Every bangunan is different style, different height, different shape. Some of them are like right in the face of the other one, and it works to a great degree from what I saw. So I think there's a lot of it'd be really cool to have a look at that.
And then side trip to the island.
But I think it's really important for each one of us to take a lot of personal responsibility in talking to our bordering neighbors. Like, alam something we can't like force people to
No,
do
of
that.
course not, but I think it's a good idea to suggest that.
For sure, and I fully support that. We've been saying that, like having clusters at members gatherings and neighbors talking and stuff like that. But we, as members, need to continue to keep that dialogue running. And I think it's happening to a certain degree. But yeah, I definitely agree.
But if the majority of the members already have a design or a sketch, we can get that onto a map somehow, or get that onto something, then that'll already be a good start, right?
I mean, we have it's the IMBs. So we have that map, which is you all have. It's on the website.
Yeah.
Which is the maximum footprint allowable for every single plot and its building based on the IMBs that were approved by BPP. So that's our master plan at the moment, and it's quite a good master plan as a reference. And you know for sure people aren't going to be building bigger than that unless they're planning to change their IMB, and I haven't heard anyone say that yet. So we've got that.
But it might be quite different, in terms of what people are actually planning to build. In some cases, gayanya, bentuknya.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Can I be an official intruder now?
The plot numbers have changed.
And you guys are cluster 3. Okay. Yep. You 3?
We're on the same plot.
Come on over.
Stand.
Stand.
Okay.
Okay, and if this works, which I hope it does, I'm going to put on some music.
On our
You
paper.
can dance around, you can dance off the paper, it's okay. But it's the 3 of you
Like
on
a
your
chair,
paper.
musical chair.
A bit like musical chairs. And the last team to get
Hey.
a little bit competitive.
Do we have to like go?
So we're not competing with each other. We're competing with the next
I
one.
Dancing, dancing, dancing.
Oh, we're supposed to be dancing.
Are we moving? What are we doing?
Finally standing, best dancer.
Volume, please. Cause
We have some big speakers over there, Petra.
I know there's huge speakers over there. I wonder what they're for.
get away from your paper.
Wow. You can
Okay, what do you guys say?
Judge.
Nobody was looking.
Should really look.
Judging.
Okay, start over.
Like judging.
Session up. If you guys could just grab a meta card and a piece of tape and put your name where you feel your choice is, that would really help. And then later, you know, when we can get together and pull some resources, we know who's who.
Can I ask directly Petra a question? How do you feel about all this land being left in your name? Because it will affect you tax-wise and stuff too. I think that's
We pay the taxes, she won't pay the taxes. We'll still pay the taxes on the plot.
yeah. But it could affect your personal income tax or anything with pay because you own so much land.
How much land do you own?
7 hectares.
All right, Petra.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, the point is, like, I think a good follow-up to this is if the people who want Petra as her nominee, as their nominee, we should get together and really look at the financial and tax implications and make sure that that gets covered properly for Petra, so that nothing is in Petra's court in terms of that kind of liability.
Survey pegs from the government. Just a quick recap on that, because I think also Masawal Nada waktu itu juga. So BPN have re-surveyed the phase 2 area, and they've put in a bunch of patoks, and those are the official patoks which relate to your certificates and your land area size. So keep an eye open for them. They're quite low on the ground, about this high. They're made out of cement. They're square. They say BPN on them. Are you coming, Lide? Okay, if anyone can't find their patoks, which can happen, I couldn't find one the other day, either Bligade or Patwayan can help find them, or maybe I can. And yeah, as discussed this morning as well, we are bringing in a professional surveyor to recheck what BPN's done, because generally speaking they don't measure very well. So it is official, it is legal, that is the amount of land you own on paper, but whether what's on the ground is the same as what's on paper, so, and if we find when we bring in the professional surveyor that there is discrepancy between the actual meter square that your plot is with the way the patok is placed, we will notify you and your neighbor, but it's really between you and your neighbor to sort it out at that point. So generally speaking, when there's a land dispute, not that this is a land dispute, but there's a variance of opinion, what needs to happen is the two landowners involved need to get together on site and talk about shifting the patok, and they both need to agree to that, and then if everyone agrees to that, then you can shift it. But if not, it's a little bit kurang ajar to, you know, move a patok. People get seriously in trouble over that. And who knows, maybe there isn't too much variation. We'll see, though. So that'll be happening over the next month or so. So there might be some value to getting together again in about a month from now. Maybe going through the building schedule stuff and the final plan on the land and all that sort of thing. We'll see.
We also have a month for this thing.
Ya, makanya bisa sekalian mungkin dibahas secara langsung. I think, so the patoks is one thing to have a look at. While we're there, if you like, we can also walk that construction route together, just so you can get a really good sense of what's being proposed as the access route for construction.
Can you put that back up on there? Oh, it's closed off.
The access route we have.
There's a big one on site. Oh, and there's one right behind you there on the wall.
Yeah.
No, not on the wall, not a wall.
We can bring them.
Sounded like
actually on the wall.
And then, if they're still there, you can meet the team.
But they were still there.
Yes? Okay, they're the people that actually make everything happen behind the scene. And feel free to have a look in the site office. There's lots of cool building materials and samples and stuff like that. Although it's a bit late today. And then we're gonna have some iced tea together
And it wasn't my
on
project,
site.
but it was another.
That's
You know,
the
I
fun.
had one question about that. When you put up the budget that and the things that what was being done, the ballet for the swimming pool, you said was 50% done. That's an option. Why not finish the ballet there?
I was thinking the same thought.
I think it was
Huh?
I was thinking that.
by the pool.
Yeah.
I think that's a kind of cool idea just because that area is kind of well developed.
Yeah.
We've got the sports field, we've
Got a great view.
Yeah.
so it kind of could be a nice chill out. It's right, near the
And it's
view.
not something that's going to be torn down
Exactly.
later. It's a temporary thing. It's something that actually we need. So.
Okay.
Yeah. We just have some finishing things to do to the pool deck to get the coloring right. They haven't finished the pebble wash of it. So, yeah. But I think that's a good. Well, Rod, when you asked about like where we can make it more lush and cozy, yeah, we were talking about like playground area, amphitheater area, pool area. Those are all places that are like not going to be too heavily impacted by any new construction. So
Yeah.
we're looking into that.
Perfect.
Actually, utility line for that.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it'd be really nice. And like I said, maybe a month from now you can actually swim in the pool too, so you can start actually using that common facility a little bit when we come to site.
Realistically, how long do you think it would be before a ballet there? By next to the swimming pool. Otherwise, a simple one you could do for a couple of million out of Cambodia.
At least 6 to 8 weeks after the utilities and stuff.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah, not so long.
But also, like one thing I've noticed with all of this construction is like, you have to have a little bit of patience before it gets to like the cozy spot that you want it to be.
Well, it's just some place to sit on the land that is shady, that's not inside the beaten building where everyone's meeting and talking about that. You just want to sit on the land for a bit. So some place to be.
Yeah, that's usually not. So, are you saying you're okay with if it's in like 6 to 8 weeks?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm just curious about the. Otherwise, if it was longer, you could build something out of bamboo. Maybe I just put it on my land so then people can use it. I mean,
And then you have a retreat space and you're like, yeah.
Totally random, just thinking about that. There's a guy who's building a bamboo dome for the Bali Spirit Festival this year. One, yeah, it's one. And it's going to be for sale afterwards. And I don't really know or kind of get all the juice on it, but it will be for sale afterwards. So if anyone does want to just have a bamboo dome tent on their plot for a year and sleep
what's on the covering?
canvas tarp.
How big is it?
9 meters.
9 meters.
The house is
9
that's
meters.
just put a
9 meters
I know.
diameter? Like
Diameter.
diameter, wow.
It's huge, yeah. So
One
I mean,
design,
yeah.
incredible.
Any idea how much?
Let me find out because he's probably
know,
going
we're
to
all
sell
like-
it at cost. It's probably going to sell it at cost.
Cool.
So actually,
I
I mean,
would
if we
accept
have anybody,
Could be our Wantiland.
Could be the
Temporary
one.
Wantiland.
Oh, that would be
That
sick.
would be sick.
Wow.
That would be awesome. It hasn't
That'd
been
be
built yet.
amazing.
One's
Nothing.
designs are so beautiful.
Cool.
It's really
One.
Well,
amazing.
I
wow.
asked him if he would do an oval because the plot for the Wantilan is actually Segi Empat Panjang.
Yeah.
If he would shift and do an oval, then it could go bloop right there. He hasn't built it yet. It's not built. So there might be time to have a conversation with Juan.
He's really familiar with the site because we were going to actually contract him, that water feature in the middle.
Yeah.
He was going to do something for us there with, crystals and...
Why don't you talk to him? Talk to him because it could... No, I'm just saying because Mel, just talk to him because before he does anything, if there's a way that it's something that could flip right over here and that's beneficial to all of us for whatever reason.
Well, and also Rachel's working on that and she's looking for somebody or people to help build it
Yeah.
and contribute time for like 4 to 7 days and then get a free pass to Bali Spirit Festival.
Yeah. She hasn't quite checked that with me yet.
She's really work. So if anyone's interested in building the dome too, yeah. Just get on the joga that she got is like maybe
Gimana? Oh Bang Li.
Yang sepotong ini takutnya kan gini.
Oh, yang tadi
Jaga
dibilang
nanti.
60 kali 150 tadi.
Pak Gede,
Yep,
you can play guitar?
bisa.
Bisa kan? Nah.
Bebas.
Oh ya? Bisa ya?
But it's not.
No, no.
When we have an amazing view, I think it's a really critical point.
yeah. My thing that I wanted that's the pitch.
Yeah, so just add that in.
Yeah.
How many meters can you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we
Then
needed
we need
to
to talk to an architect about that because that also then would depend on the size of the building, right?
yeah. I mean, what's a reasonable height do you think for the pitch?
It's like. Oh,